Levels, basic version. Gerai, pažiūrim, what the fuck is this?
So what the hell is this all about? This video is about levels of thinking. It is theoretical, which is fascinating, and it also has colorful jokes. I use this diagram a lot in my videos because it helps explain some of the wild things that people say and do. It's based on the work of several researchers. I'm trying to make it easier to read for a wider audience. This is my interpretation of a model of consciousness that I studied. It includes quadrants, levels, lines, states, and types. Today I'm talking about levels. I want to make a big, long video explaining each level in detail, but for now I'm just going to do this short version to get it out of the way and get the ball rolling. But before we get started, here are some misspelled vegetables because I'm told that it helps if I'm cute. Here's a cactus. So these levels are stages of psychological development. They have been studied by numerous researchers. Some of the most famous models come from Jean Piaget. Here's a snapshot of his work. And Abraham Maslow, who had the hierarchy of needs.
Maslow pyramidė, jo, o šitas...
On Piaget, here's a snap.
The fuck? Piaget's theory, sensory motor, coordination of senses, okay, pre-operational, symbolic thinking, use of proper syntax, concrete operational, concepts attached to concrete situations, time, space, and quantity are understood and can be applied, okay, formal operation 11 plus theoretical, hypothetical, okay.
Snapshot of his work, and Abraham Maslow, who had the hierarchy of needs. Everybody is born down here, and nearly everybody gets up to at least this stage by adulthood. There are many factors that determine how you will develop and when, including your surroundings, your choices, your culture, and the brain you were born with. These are the quadrants. They are different ways of looking at reality. In this case, this would be your mind, your brain, your culture, and your society. They all happen at the same time because the mind is the brain, and culture is a lot of minds, and society is what those minds do. I should also say that people are never really in a level. You just slowly develop the ability to think at higher levels as you gain experience, but we all use...
Clearly, kad visi pas mane streame esam bent 9 levelio thinkeriai. Tiesiog highest level of development thinkeriai. Clearly. Tai aišku.
Use the lower levels every day. When you have to use the bathroom, for example, that's a level 1 process. It's not a complex style of thought, it's just a feeling or an urge. So some people make it up to higher stages and some people never do. Most people on Earth spend most of their time in these 4 stages, and this one is only very common in modernized places. And it's the first stage where you can adopt a world-centered level of understanding, which means understanding how people think the way they do based on where they're from. Before that level, there are right and wrong ways of thinking, so you would either be doing it right or you're not, and then they would say you're either doing it right or you're not. After that, it's more like, well, maybe I would think that way if I was from there, or maybe I would be more like you if I lived your life. That's where global thinking begins. Speaking of global thinking, this is my first sponsored video. It's brought to you by Atlas VPN, which allows you to access all the stuff you like from all over the globe. It feels illegal, but it's not. With Atlas VPN, you can just go, sorry, I'm totally in America right now. It's like a tiny little embassy. Atlas has the best VPN deal on the market. With the Black Friday price cut, it is $1.70 a month with 6 months extra for free, which also feels illegal and is not. Check the video description for the link. Atlas VPN makes you anonymous, which is a big deal for me. I do not need people knowing whose order this is. Give me the regular price, please. Atlas also stops ads and malware, it blocks malicious links, ads, and trackers, and it notifies you when someone tries to steal your data. You want to keep your data, right? I do. You want better deals on shopping and subscriptions? You want to cover unlimited devices? You want to hide from the Illuminati? Get the Black Friday price cut. $1.70 a month, 6 months extra for free. 30-day money-back guarantee, protect your privacy, other benefits, ridiculously low price. Click the link in the video description below. Limited time offer. I hope it's also a limited time that we stay in these lower levels of thinking. Let's talk about what they are and how they work and how to move on. Before I get started, I should say that higher does not always mean better. Some people watch my videos where I talk about my mistakes and they say, oh, you think you're at a high level? You sound like a jerk. But higher doesn't mean better person. It means more aware. So here's the lower level of awareness, seeing things.
Skamba kaip labai geras įrankis visiems pateisinti savo įsitikinimus. Šeimam ar šiaip pasakys, kad jie turi labai aukštą suvokimo lygį, awareness lygį, tą tokį matymą, kaip pasaulis veikia ir sistemos, jie žinoma, ir visiems tiks paaiškinimas tų dalykų, tipo, ir paskui, vat, naudojimasis tokiom sistemom visokiom ir skalėm visokiom, kad galėtų paaiškinti, vat, kaip čia mes išsivadavę esam iš matricos, iš tikro. Didžiausi konspiratorikai visokie, tai taip kalba visą laiką, jo suverenai, tie patys, visi tie žmonės tą naudoja. Bet čia ir echo chamberų toks principas yra, kad tipo, tu pastoviai kartoji ir enforcini, kokie ten tavo grupiai protingi ir ten ir geresni, tipo, daugiau žinantis negu kad kiti, tipo.
And then as you go higher in the levels of awareness, it becomes much more complex. You're seeing people, seeing almost into infinity. And so when I make mistakes in here, I usually know exactly why they're happening. I usually can say things like, I choose women who probably will not stick around. Why? Because I don't think I can support them anyway. Well, why does that matter? Well, usually most of them want a higher level of support that I can provide. And why does that matter? Well, it doesn't feel good when they leave because I can't support them. Okay, well, why do those feelings matter? Can you change it some other way? Can you get a better job or something? Well, I tried to do that. I'm doing the best that I can. Is there some way that you can change the way you try to get money from the world? Well, I've already done everything I can here, and this kind of gets fuzzy. So why am I spending time with the wrong woman comes back to this experience that I've had over and over and over again.
Ar jis čia apibūdina kaip aukštesnį kažkokį mąstymą, nes čia tiesiog train of thought. That's it. Visi tą turi.
And I haven't been able to fix. It's the ability to see through what's going on in your mind and also to see through similar levels of complexity in what's going on in the world around you. So it's not about being good, it's about getting it. Moving up in the levels does not always make you more effective. In fact, this level is famous for making people into hippies. This is the point in development where you begin to understand that everyone has their own way of seeing things. And so who's to say what we should and should not do? This is an illustration of an interaction from each level. This girl...
Žinokit, not gonna lie, aš nesuvokiu, apie ką jis kalba, bet viskas čia atrodo kaip a load of bullshit.
Is getting validation from a guy that she's not interested in. So she knows how to get the validation, and then she stands back and she can plan how to give less to get even more. And then she looks at that and asks, well, is that the right thing to do? Not really. But am I going to do it anyway in this circumstance because I think it would be better overall? So that's in order. Wanting something, knowing how to get it from someone, knowing how to control the interaction, knowing whether that's right or wrong according to the rules that you live by, and then becoming the author of your own sense of right and wrong. And then when you take another step back to this hippie level, it's like, well, who is anyone to judge my choices? My choices are right for me, and so there isn't really such a thing as...
Ja, čia tupas mąstymas. Kai sako, va, ten 6 ar koks lygis pagal jį, tipo, hipius producina lygis, kur ten, kad visi turi patirtis ir, kas teisti, tai tu tik parodė, kad tu visiškai nesupranti tada objektyvumo, kad tu epistemiškai tu gali žinot dalykus. Ir jo, kai kurie dalykai yra subjektyvus, kur, vienam, kitam, bet tu gali žinot. O jeigu tu tiesiog patampi hipis, nes galvoja, visi turi patirtis, kas čia gali nuspręsti, mano teisybė yra tokia, pala, niekam nerūpi tavo teisybė, jeigu mes bandom nuspręsti, kas yra tikra. Tai čia iš karto parodo, kad žmogus, aš to kaip tik tupų vadinčiau, ten jis 6 levelio thinking. Čia nežinau, čia tarsi apibūdinimai kažkokio proceso gal labiau, o ne lygių, bet aš nežinau, iš čia šokinėja labai irgi buvo 1, 2, dabar 6 kalba kažkodėl. Bet nežinau, čia skamba kaip viskas a load of bullshit, kad pateisint savo tupą ideologiją ar kažką tokio, aš nežinau. Nes tai, ko aš tikėčiausi iš kokių šeimamarščių ar, sakau, plokščiažemių, kurie įsivaizduotų, kad yra protingi, arba iš redpillerių, kurie įsivaizduotų, kad yra protingi ir tada reikia racionalizuoti arba parodyti kitiems, kodėl tu esi protingas, iš tikrųjų nusimanai, ką kalbi, kai realiai pas tai išvados nepagristos jokia ten duomenim, jokiais faktais, tiesiog tau reikia pagrįsta.
Right and wrong, it's just what works for me. That's why they call that level the individualist. Different people go through the levels differently. And when I went through this one, it...
Dar gali būti, kai aš nukopijavo tuos levelius iš, kaip ten to mokslininko pavardę pasakė, kur gal, ar filosofas ten buvo, aš nežinau, gal jie make sense kažkokiu lygiu, bet gal jisai interpretuoja čia visiškai savaip. Radical relativism rules over single system view. Awareness of multiple valid perspectives creates overlapping, competing systems. Identifies as unique individual. Plečia kokybė to, kad aš net neperskaičiau. Okay. Tai gali būti, kad šie interpretuoja visiškai savaip, ne taip, kaip gal turėtų būti interpretuojama, ar ne taip, kaip parašyta tie aprašymai.
I felt like I couldn't get my feet on the ground. I saw so many different ways of seeing the world, so many different philosophies, so many different life choices.
Everyone does, my dude.
And I didn't know how to pick one. And if I can't pick one, then I can't get anywhere. So I would say, I don't know what to do. And people would say, just pick something. And I would say, how do I know what to pick? And they would go, pick something you like. And I would go, how do I know what I like? So I really like to plan things out. I like certainty. But at this level, you realize that you're never going to know what happens until you try it. So it goes what I see,
that doesn't
what you
mean
see,
that.
What works for me, what works for us. And then, hey, look, those people have a different thing that works for them. That's level 5, when you can say, okay, I'm like this because I'm from here, and you're like that because you're from there. And then at level 6, it's like, well, where I'm from is really just myself. Everybody is just from their self. And so how can one self have an idea that's better than any other self? Whereas at an earlier level, you might be able to say something like, well, my dad was an accountant, and so I'm an accountant. That's just what we do, and you don't have to deal with any of this uncertainty. So higher is more complex, but complex is not always good. The way I explain it is that you can have a really good shoe or a really bad car, and I think what I have is a sinking cruise ship. So if higher is not always better, then why should we grow? Well, because higher is usually better. If everyone was at these lower levels, we would not be able to have grocery stores and electricity. We have a complex world, and it requires complex thinking. And some problems cannot be solved at the level they can.
730. Kokia pavardė buvo to
in states and types in detail about levels. I want to make a big way that it has been studied by numerous researchers. Some of the most famous models come from Jean Piaget. Here's a snapshot of his work. Researchers. Some of the most famous models come from Jean Piaget.
Aš pamėginsiu surasti. O dabar 7:30 ten, kur baigiam.
Thinking, and some problems cannot be solved at the level they came from. Everybody watching this is going to have a different fingerprint of development. That means that your different lines or capacities, or the ways that you use your intelligence, are all going to be developed to different levels. It's possible to be very lopsided. For example, you could have your cognitive line all the way up at 9, but your moral line all the way down at 3. You could also be higher up than another person overall, but they're still way better than you at a particular thing.
Seniai, mes ne apie Mazlo piramidę kalbam, apie tą, ką tik žiūrėjom, tos levelius, what the fuck?
This could be somebody who really understands history and politics to a high degree but has low empathy, and this would be someone who kind of gets it but is great with people. So as I go through them one by one, try to remember...
Mes šitą žiūrim, apie šitą kalbam, iš kur jis šitos levelius traukia. Liktais nėra, o gal. Scale developed by Vinger States of Ego iš karto randa. States of Ego development čia? Jis turi relationship model kažkokį. Randa skirtingus dalykus, ne tą, ką jisai čia įmetęs. Radau, ką jisai čia įmetęs. Pirma, čia yra integral social work, integral theory. Is a post-disciplinary meta-framework that incorporates the insight of various systems of thought and research findings. Appreciating the work numerous development scientists, Slovinger, Freud, okay, Fowler, tą pavardę žinau iš kažkur. Okay, ir čia jisai šitą rado. Tas šeštas, kuris rašė individualist, radical relativism, rules single system view. Fourth person perspective. Aware of multiple perspective, multiple competing systems. Discovery of unique subjective reality. Unique experience of many selves in multiple contexts. Jis žiauriai interpretavo pagal save, ką tai reiškia, kai jisai nežino savo gyvenimo tikslo ir pasimetęs. Kas yra load of bullshit, what the fuck, prie ko čia? Bet jo, sure, tas, kad aukštesnio, I guess, turi daugiau įsivaizduoti, kaip čia daugiau mąstyti, I guess, stepping back, kad matyti big picture labiau, kad individualus veikėjai, sure. Jo, aš jau visiškai nepasitikiu tuo čiuvaku. Taip kaip jis pasakoja, taip kaip jis interpretuoja, atrodo rado kažką ir visiškai savai pateikė.
Where you went through them and what that felt like and where you think you are now. Okay, level 1. I call this survive because it's just basic moment to moment. What do I need? Do I need food? Do I need sleep? It's just my own feelings and there's no such thing as someone else's mind. If we were living in this level, we would be in small survival bands and we would not be thinking much about each other's thoughts. We would be doing what we must in order to survive. Level 2 I called connect because now you can think about what is in someone else's mind. What does this person want or need? Primitive people at this level will sometimes do rain dances or throw virgins in a volcano. I'm not sure if that's real, but it's the kind of thing you'd expect to see because at level 2 you're realizing, okay, I have a mind and I need things and other people have minds and they need things, so maybe it's not raining because we haven't pleased someone in the sky. Maybe the volcano is angry because it wants something, and what do I want? Virgins. So level 2 is all about what I do affects what other people think about me and what they do for me. Basically like this.
Čia visiškai nonsensical peršokimas. Kad aukoti reikia žmogų, čia surišimas buvo visiškai nelogiškas. Bet jam čia make sense, I guess, kad paaiškintų tą? Ne, tai tiesiog galima paaiškinti to, kad tu supranti kitų žmonių poreikius. Ar, kad jie irgi individai ir kitų žmonių, sure. Bet tada jis peršoka apie kažkokį, tai aš įmesiu, paaukosiu kažką. Ne, čia nesusiję visiškai su tuo. What?
If we were living at level 2, we would be in small...
Ar čia jisai pats parašė, nes to nėra? Nes bent jau tame grafe, kur aš įsijungiau, tas nėra parašyta. Ar jis čia pats šitos darašė? Tribal safety čia tik parašyta. Jo, jis čia pats dadėjo. Ar jis iš kažkur kitur čia ištraukė, jis pats dadėjo? Netikiu, jis iš kažkur kitur ištraukė, nes čia ten please the gods, keep your groove safe and happy, please the gods, bet aš kur radau tame, tai to nėra originaliam bent jau. Tai aš nežinau, iš kur jis čia rado, gal iš to ir sujungia, kad dievams paukot kažką, bet logiškai doesn't follow.
All tribal groups.
Maybe.
And we would be focused on safety and security.
Gal yra kažkoks išplėstas kažkur, aš nežinau.
Practices, just day to day. Level 3 I called control. This level is still very popular in modern society. So at level 1 I have a mind with feelings and needs, and at level...
Yra Flickr. Flickr svetainė yra screenshotas. To, kur jisai rodo. Bet aš nežinau, kas jį padarė, nes Flickr, blėt. Tai yra Reddit'e, dive into anything, tas pats. Žinau, skamba kaip pseudo crap kažkoks, pseudo scientific crap.
Level 2, I know that other people have minds with feelings and needs, and sometimes maybe I think a volcano does too. And at level 3, now I know that other people are aware that other people are aware that they have feelings and needs. So I know that these people have a relationship to each other the same way that I have a relationship to
this. Tai čia lygiai tas pats, o čia iš kur? Ar čia jisai pats parašė, ar kas dar rašė tuos... Jo, čia home app, čia tas screenshotas yra. Aš neklausiu, kur rasti man tą screenshotą jo, aš klausiu, iš kur jis ištraukė. Ar jis pats dar rašė, nes ten tą, kur tu numetai Dropbox'en, tai jis pats parašyta, jo logotipas ten yra uždėtas. Aš net to klausiu.
to this, and to this, and to this. Now I know he has a relationship to her. So instead of just direct connections, this creates social situations. Here is a woman seeing man bad on her phone, and then she sees the man in her life and goes, oh, wait a minute, if man bad, then maybe that man bad. And then at level 3, you would step back and say, well, what do I do about this situation? Why is he being bad, and what can I do about this relationship? If we were living at this level, we would be living in something like the Roman Empire, mythic, feudal, and exploitative empire. You see this level a lot in things like the mafia, and in sports teams, firemen, police, military. So even though these levels 2 and 3 involve thinking about thinking, it's mostly just for the purpose of getting what you want and having power over others. Level 4 I called belong because the primary drive is to fit in. And that drive is motivated by what they call second-person perspective. So again, at level 1, you have your own feelings, urges, and needs. At level 2, you see those of others and you can react to them, but it's still all about what those feelings mean to you. And at level 3, you understand that you're in a complex social web of relationships, and you can react to those relationships and exert control over your situation. And at level 4, that's when you realize everyone is in their own situation. That's where we get the classic folk wisdom of don't judge somebody until you've walked a mile in his shoes. You are in this situation over here, but imagine if you were him in this situation over here. Maybe you would have done what he did too. That doesn't come online until you get the second-person perspective at level 4. When level 4 was brand new, it was basically medieval empires. It says mythic empires here, nation-states. Basically large groups of people that lived by a set of rules that they shared. As opposed to the do what you want mentality of level 3, level 4 focuses on good versus evil. The entry to that level is called the diplomat because of the way that they focus on acceptable behavior and social norms. That's their way of getting over the problems from the previous stage. You can tell when second-person perspective is coming online in children because they start looking in the mirror more. They start to realize, oh, I have other people looking at me the way that I look at other people and I have feelings about them. They're looking at me and having feelings about me, so I better be up to their expectations. Level 4 is the beginning of what we traditionally refer to as morality. Here again is the woman seeing man bad on her phone, and then she feels like, well, maybe this man is bad because my phone said so. She's projecting that onto him, having a negative experience, and then deciding what to do about it. I'm gonna break up with this guy. He must be bad because I felt like it was true when I saw it on my phone. And then out here, she takes a step back and looks at herself as if she is a second person, which is why they call it second-person perspective, and thinks, is that the right thing to do? This is the first point where it becomes obvious that consciousness is important, because a lot of people see things on their phones or on...
Aš nežinau, kas numetė tą linką? Kas numetė tą video? Man visi red flagai šitą žiūrint įsijungia. Aš nežinau, visi red flagai įsijungia. Čia yra horoskopas. Čia yra horoskopas žmonėms. Aš tokį vaibą gaunu. Tu į tuos apibrėžimus, tokius kaip jie parašyti broad ir kaip jie vardinti, tu gali sutalpinti fucking viską. Ir tu gali pritaikyti viskam. Ir aišku, jisai kam pritaikys, tam apie ką aš esu video daro, kaip moteris yra visos kurvos, aš nežinau, ar ten blogos, aš nežinau, ar durnos. Nes čia kiekvieną kartą, kai reikia pavyzdį, kam jis iš tikro domisi tais levels of thinking, kaip ir sakiau, tai kad pateisint savo ideologiją, kas yra, kaip suprantu, čia stumimas kažkoks ant moterų, relationship advice, jis man primena Red Pillerį, by the way, aš nežinau, ar jis Red Pilleris, jis man primena labai Red Pillerį. Kokius jis dar video turi? Iš to, kaip jis kalba, iš to, kaip jis iškart šoka prie tų pavyzdžių apie relationshipus ir kaip jis pateikė, moteris perskaitė, man bad, ir jinai tada taip reaguos į visus vyrus, nes prisiminkim, moteris tūpa ir jinai taip reaguos. Nu, toks iškart man primena... Most through the table, don't get... Jo, aš nežinau, apie ką čia šitas kanalas, jis labai wild. Bet pati ta... Tie leveliai patys, toks tarsi asmenybės testas, tarsi horoskopai, nu gal biški tiksliau, broadly surašant pagal vystymosi tą developmental lygį. Ir aš nežinau, ant kiek čia scientific yra. Jeigu spėt reiktų, čia kažkoks pseudo science shit bus, bet reiktų googlinti reikia, aš nežinau, gal aš tiesiog smarkiai klystu. Bet tipo, kaip yra kažkiek logikos, ar gal ir kažkom paremta kažkokiu psichologiniu tyrinėjimu, kur smegenys žmogus vystos ir ką techniškai gali suvokti tokio lygio, bet tie lygiai labai plačiai aprašyti ir taip, kaip jie aprašyti, kad tu gali interpretuoti ir pritaikyti bet kam, bet kada vos ne bet kokį, nu, tą lygį, tipo, kas man tiesiog horoskopo lygio daros, aš nežinau.
On TV, and it gives them a feeling, and then they see that feeling coming from others, and then they do something about that relationship. So they might begin treating somebody poorly because they saw something on their phone that made them feel like, well, if that's happening here, it must be happening here too. And it's not until you slow down enough to get to level 4 that you can take a step back and ask yourself, is this a valuable process? The way that level 4 typically functions is through conformity and agreement. I believe this is the wrong way to behave. I believe this is the wrong way to behave. Agreeing on what's right and wrong and creating a set of rules and following them can solve some of these earlier problems.
Ir esmė ta, kad taip...
Also, there...
Taip kaip... Ar mes galėtumėm patikrinti kažką tai? Ar mes galėtumėm padaryti eksperimentą? Gerai, visų pirma, who gives a shit turbūt, jeigu tie leveliai tokie ir egzistuotų. Kaip grįžtu aš į pradžią, ką sakiau, kad tokie dalykai reikalingi tik dalbajobom pateisinant jų ideologijas, tipo visokias. Bet gerai tada. Kodėl mes turėtumėm tos lygius rašyti ir tada kokį mes tyrimą galėtumėm atlikti? Čia skamba, kad nepamatuojamas dalykas yra tiesiog, nu, vieno, tarkim, interpretacija kažko rėmės, bet čia nieko objektyvaus nėra, aš tą gal noriu pasakyti. Čia nieko net nėra, ką mes galėtumėm pamatuoti, aš nežinau. Tai aš būčiau apšalęs, jeigu rastumėm tyrimų kažkokių, ar čia būtų įrodyta.
There are an infinite number of ways to decide what is right and wrong. You can have this set of rules over here, or this set of rules over here. And that's where level 5 comes in. Level 5 introduces objective observation as a value. Basically, okay, you guys think A, B, C is right, and you guys think X, Y, Z is right. Well, let's figure out which one is better. And in order to do that, you have to take another step back into a third-person perspective. So again, the first 3 levels are all about me. And then level 4 is, if I was another person in my culture, how would I view my behavior? And then level 5 is another step back. If I was an alien or a stranger, how would I view my culture? This also enables you to view other cultures and sets of social norms. That's why it's global. It's the first time that you can go, oh, I get why they're like that, because they're from somewhere else. Level 5 has only really been around for a few hundred years, and it is basically where we get science and the assembly line and other forms of modern conveniences. Level 6 is where things get really fun. You might remember how it went for me. Level 5 is into objective observation, but level 6 recognizes the role of the perceiver. A different perceiver is going to equal a different perception.
Yeah, bet tu kalbi apie objective, kas nesikeičia nuo perceiverio, nes tai yra objektyvu, tada neteisingai žodį objective, what the fuck?
That brings in the fourth person perspective. So down at 1, you have me and my needs, the way I relate to others and the way I get my way in my social situation. And then you take a step back. What does my behavior look to others around me? And what rules do we make about that? And then another step back. What would our set of rules look like to a different group of people? And then level 6, you step back again. And, well, the way that you are looking is going to determine what it looks like. So when you look here, you'll see one thing. And when you look here, you'll see another thing. And when you look here, you'll see a third thing because of who you are and where you came from. So there isn't really any way to objectively observe. Not being able to objectively observe can feel weird.
But you can objectively observe, though. Tas ir yra, aš nežinau, čia buvo visiškai nesąmonė, ką jis tik sakė. Visų pirma, tai, kad tu gali matyti iš skirtingų kampų, jo. tą galima išmokti tiesiog šališkumas, bias, sužinot, ką reiškia, ir tu jau gali suprast, ką tai reiškia. Bet tada jisai pasako, kad tu negali objektyviai pamatuoti, vien dėl to, kad tu gali suprasti, kad, nu, ta kita grupė žiūri dar iš kitos grupės, kad, nu, ir gali suprasti, kodėl jie tokie, ten, kodėl, jo, tu gali tą suprasti, žiūr. Bet tu gali tada ir tyrimus padaryti, tu sociologija tą ir tyria, skirtingas kultūros, kaip ten ką, bet tada jeigu kažką objektyvaus tu norėsi pamatuoti, tu gali pamatuoti, kas nepriklausys nuo tavęs kaip observerio, kad tu iš vienos pusės žiūri ir taip matai, būtent mokslinis procesas tą ir eliminuoja įvairius kintamosius, kad sužinot kažką objektyvaus. Dabar arba jis žodį objective naudoja belenkaip, kaip jis supranta jį, arba iš čia tiesiog, aš nežinau, čia useless, mane triggerina net. Nes jis pateikė labai rimtai čia, bet čia jis kliedi.
Level 6 is very new. There were a few philosophers talking at that level in the 1800s, but it didn't really show up in mainstream society until 1960s America. So because the way that you're looking determines what you're going to see, that means there are multiple perspectives that are valid because we all have a unique personal subjective reality that's not observable to others. Basically, how do I know that the red that I see...
Kol tas yra teisinga, tas yra beprasmiška tada. What the fuck, čia sakau horoskopai, jo, cool. Tu esi vienas special snowflake, tipo, jo, nieks nežino, kaip tu jauties, todėl viskas, ką tu jauti, yra valid. Jeigu tu eisi ir žudysi žmonės, ten, jeigu eisi padarys kažką objektyviai durno, nesvarbu, kad tai tavo subjektyvi realybė. Aš nežinau, čia šiaip galima naudoti tokias racionalizacijas kaip pateisinimui savo tupiems ideologijoms, nežinau.
Is the same as the red that you see. Maybe my red is your green.
Aš kaip suprantu, aš toj pagūglinsiu, aš pažiūrėsiu dar biškai, įsijungiu keletą linkų, nežiūrėjau dar, tipo. Kaip suprantu, ta teorija yra kokio filosofo ar mokslininko parašyta Integral the Theory Levels of Thinking. Bet man atrodo, jis tada čia 9% interpretuoja savaip tą teoriją, bet aš, nu, kad ta teorija parašyta, aš nežinau, man atrodo, čia bus kažkoks, gal ne pseudomokslinis, bet useless dalykas, kuris tiesiog bus skirtas mintim pagauti ir toks kaip obscure kažkokį radau ir dabar galiu žmonėm pateisinti savo durnumą, nu ne durnumą, savo tas debiliškas mintis. Bet aš būčiau nustebęs, jeigu kažkas labiau gilintųsi tą daryti teorijas kažkokias, ar ten mokslinius tyrimus labiau, aš net nežinau, kaip tu daryti mokslinius tyrimus, nes dažniausiai tokiems yra filosofija. Ir filosofijai yra daug atšakų ir čia gal ir tilptų į kažkokią filosofiją apmąstymai. Bet, nu, čia nieko objektyvaus nėra. Aš bent jau nustebčiau, jeigu būtų.
From the fourth person perspective, there's no way to know. Level 6 is a really good example of why higher development is not always necessarily better. It is a very high degree of moral development, recognizing the validity of everyone's perspective. But let's say, for example, that there's a problem going on down here. Let's say that this guy did something that is considered morally wrong in this culture. But wait a minute, he says, that's how we do it where I'm from. So when level 6 goes crazy, they start saying things like, we can't make this guy follow these rules just because he's here.
Of course you
can. He has these rules where he's from. And who are you to judge which set of rules?
Kas per nesąmonė šitas būtų? Tai būtų valstybė, jeigu atvažiavai iš kitos valstybės ir dabar šitoj gyvenimus nesvarbu iš kokios atvažiavai. Mes visuomenę kuriam pagal taisyklės turi vadovautis. Tai aišku, kad tu tada turi ir jurisdikciją, ir teisę jį nubausti, ir nesvarbu iš kur jis. Kas čia buvo per pavyzdys?
We can't make this guy follow these rules just because he's here.
Of course you can.
He has these rules where he's from.
What the fuck?
And who are you to judge which set of rules is better? We should recognize everybody's unique perspective.
No, we shouldn't.
And that can and often does give people the idea, I guess I can just do whatever I want because who are you to judge? That's why we have problems like this. And yeah, some of these people are unfortunate and that's sad, but some of them...
Jo, jis naudoja šitą gal ir valid kažkokią teoriją lygius, kad pateisintų savo pasaulėžiūrą ir savo įsitikinimus. Ir kažkaip jis va tada interpretuoja, čia atgalinė racionalizacija vyksta. Taip kaip jisai supranta, jis tada bando rasti pateisinimų pagal ką, kodėl, ir, nu, kodėl visuomenė taip veikia, kaip aš suprantu, kad jinai veikia. Va yra benamiai, nu, kokia problema yra. Ir tada, kokią galiu rasti problemą, kodėl čia tie benamiai, arba kodėl moteris vienaip ar kitaip elgiasi, ar kodėl moteris su manim nešneka. Negali būti dėl kažkokių priežasčių, kur man nepatinka, tipo, aš turiu rasti kaip pateisintą. Tai aš rasiu, kai jinai greičiausiai žemesnius to mąstymo lygio, ar dar kažką, ir tu tokį randi ir tada pritaikai. Bet čia yra atbulinė racionalizacija. Tu ne išvadas pasidarai, kai supranti procesą, kodėl, nes ten, kad benamių yra ten šimtai priežasčių. Žiūrim ten vieną, žiūrėjom kur video Channel 5, kur buvo, pavyzdžiui, kur ten tech kompanija didžiulė atvaro, labai greit plečias miestas, ten išsiperka namus, užsikelia kainas, panašiai, paskui lieka tušti namai, kai ta tech įmonė pasitraukia ir, didelė problema tokia. 100 kitų sprendimų sueina į vieną, ten politinių, socialinių ir panašiai, ir žiūrėk, turi benamių. Bet tada šitas žmogus, tai čia jie benamiai galvoja, nes aš dabar, kadangi tokio aukšto levelio mąstytojas pagal šitą levelių mąstytojų sistemą, tai aš puikiai taigi suprantu, kodėl tie benamiai yra. Ir pateisina per tokį vieną dalyką pasakant, kad čia jie tiesiog vadovauja savo taisyklėms, nes jiems pohui. Čia yra absurdas. Čia yra visiškai tragiška racionalizacija tam, kad tu jau įsitikina ir tiesiog ieškai kaip paaiškinti pro dar vieną kažkokią prizmę, o ne ta prizmė tau padėjo susidaryti tas nuomonės.
Problems like this. And yeah, some of these people are unfortunate, and that's sad. But some of them are just doing whatever they want, and we now have laws that don't distinguish between them because who are you to judge? So at this point, there is this white break in the chart, and that's because we are moving up to second-tier consciousness. And what that means is that level 7 is the first level that can understand and include all the previous ones. At level 6, they still insist that they're correct and no one else is. For example, at level 4, you might have a Christian church and a Muslim mosque next door arguing over who has the true faith. But at level 6, we can all get along, we just need more understanding, when that's not what either of those groups wants. So even if level 6 says that they're about equality, they're saying we all need to be equal even if we don't want to. And it's not until level 7 that we understand how to actually give each previous level what it wants to have so that they can live in harmony. At level 7, this fourth-person perspective gets expanded through time, which creates awareness of the self as a history of your own experience. At level 6, everyone has their own view, and so who's to say who's right and who's wrong? But at level 7, you take yet another step back and you realize that that unique view didn't come from nowhere, it developed over time, and everybody else is developing over time. So at level 6, because we are all the same, everybody belongs wherever. But at level 7, since we know we all change over time, people belong where they fit the best. So for example, does this behavior fit here? If not, then it has to go where it belongs. And
čia dabar jau galime ir pritaikyti republikonam prieš imigrantus, taigi. Čia dabar mes galime ir rasizmą iš karto pateisinti. Kokia nuostabi teorija, kai viską mes interpretuojam kaip norim. Tai mes dabar esam aukštesnio mąstymo lygiai. Ir tie žmonės, jie čia nepriklauso, jie turi varyti ten, iš kur atkeliavo. Oh, shit, okay. Jo.
And if it does, then we can all learn something new from it. That's why I called it harmonize, because it's no longer about radical inclusiveness. It's about recognizing interrelated systems
all
and
is
how they
smelling
are either
like
synergistic
bullshit.
or clashing. Radical relativism and radical inclusiveness, they sound nice, but they do create a lot of clashing. People who are at level 7 tend to naturally recognize development without studying this chart or any of the stuff it came from, and it's pretty fun to see. I asked one of my life coaching clients a question, and he said, well, a little while ago, I would have answered it like this. And before then, I would have even answered it like that. And maybe a few years ago, I would have answered it like this. But now... And so he told me all about his development through the levels as his answer to the question. As far as I know, there is not yet any large collection of people at level 7. You can find a lot of these people in San Francisco, and you can find a lot of these people in New York, and you can find a lot of these people in Alabama, and so on. So let me know if you think that you're up at this level. I'm trying to build a time army so we can all get together and work on all this from up here. And I'm not really...
Oh, Holy shit, jo, nu, pasakykit, kas dar esat mega protingi 1%, nes aš mėginu surinkti kuo daugiau tokių pat aukštai pakilėjusių žmonių kaip aš. Holy fuck, seni.
Really sure if these numbers are accurate. I get more confident the lower it goes, but I know I enjoy meeting them because their ability to naturally balance and synergize things and put everything where it belongs means that they're going to be instrumental in solving a lot of the problems caused by the previous levels. The levels get more difficult to explain the higher they go. You may have noticed there's a lot of words here. And level 8 is pretty rare. I don't meet a lot of people who are stably at it, and even when I do it...
Aš nežinau, ar jums pasakau, bet aš tai žaidžiau LCS. Aš praktiškai net netilpčiau į šitą grafą jau, tipo, aš tokia mažuma, vienintelis lietuvis, tipo, o Jėzau, aš tiesiog tarp geriausių pasaulyje žaidžiu. Atsiprašau, apie ką mes kalbam? Daikit iki mano lygio. What? 0,1%? Net nepalėti manęs, what the fuck? Kad jau taip vertinam, žinai, viską.
I don't think they spend a lot of their time there. So level 8 appears when you take another step back from this. And we are now witnessing ourselves change over time in the moment. As you behave, as you think and feel, new parts of you emerge from the ether. That's what it means to be construct aware. It means that you're watching your own mind construct itself as you go. So at level 8, you can see all these different parts of yourself kind of coming out to play. For example, you could look at an image of a donut or a donut sitting on a plate, and you can go, I'm feeling many things right now. I'm feeling hunger for the donut because it's good, but I'm also feeling a sense of guilt from one time that I ate a whole box of donuts that were not meant for me, and then somebody gave me basic rational thought, and I also got a stomach ache because I ate too many. I'm recalling that memory as I look at this, and it's influencing what I want to do. So now that I'm aware of all that going on in me, do I want to listen to it or not? Do I want to be the kind of person who just has a donut?
Jo, čia sakyčiau, turbūt basic pasąmonė. Jeigu tu supranti, kaip pasąmonė veikia, ką supras bet koks žmogus ten nors akimirką apie tą ar paskaitęs, ar sužinojęs, ir tu jau ką aštuntas, ne, čia absurdas. Jo, čia visiškai niekam nereikalingas ir useless absurdas, bet labai naudingas ideologams, kurie nori pateisinti savo ten mintis, kažkokias ar idėjas. Yeah.
Anyway, because I'm an adult and I can do what I want. And it might sound silly when you're talking about donuts, but imagine that this is something like global politics. Or even an interpersonal relationship. Like, yeah, I saw this on my phone and it gave me a feeling, and I'm aware of where that feeling is in myself, and I'm aware that I'm projecting it onto this person, and I'm aware of my impulse for what I should do about it, and I'm aware of what my culture says I should do about it, and then all of that is wrapped up in objective observation and the story of who I am and how I got here over time and how I'm
Tai subjective observation tada, jeigu pagal tave rodai trečią, nes čia trečias tas ir sakei, kad čia subjective buvo.
Viewing the event because of my personal history. Do you see how that gives you a lot more power to change your behavior in situations like this? Imagine if more people could...
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Jungo, jo čia ta citata, bet iš čia ką apibūdino tai vieną pagrindinį principą, kur labai daug žmonių supranta ir tikrai nėra joks aštuntas lygis, kur ten tik 0,001%, fuck you. Bet visi žmonės, ne visi vėl supranta, kas yra pasąmonė, kaip jin veikia, psichologai tom užsiema, terapeutai tom užsiema, terapeutai, psichologai, nesvarbu. Bet jo, čia visas tas video, load of horse shit.
And then see their own reaction to it instead of just reacting, and then know where that reaction comes from in terms of their history and their culture. Think how much more power that would give us not to just react in the moment. That's why you should be thinking about thinking. Anyway, level 9 is very hard to describe. I do think that I spend some time up at this level.
Fellow 9 level.
The way that it feels to me is like all I'm doing ever is watching and wishing, and that's all I've ever been doing. At these first 3 levels, you are the main character. And at level 4, you understand everyone is their own main character. And then you understand that everyone's watching a different show, because everyone is a different show, and that show is constantly evolving and changing over time. And at level 8, you're just watching the show happen. You're not even identified with being the show anymore. You're just watching yourself be. So when my mind is up here, it's like, okay, I'm seeing myself seeing my history and where I came from and what I'm like and what I do, which is made of all this stuff.
Gerai, tylėk, man jau nebeįdomu. Jo, tai šičia yra Integral Theory Keno Wilberio, ta AQAL, All Quadrants, All Levels, Reception in Mainstream Academia. Integral theory is irrelevant in and widely ignored at mainstream academic institutions and has been sharply contested by critics. Ir yra Zimmermano kritika čia, okay. The independent scholar Frank Visser says that there is a problematic relation between Wilber and academia for several reasons, including a self-referential discourse. Yes, tas... Kai tu randi būdą pateisinti savo mėšlui, post hoc racionalizacija, kai ieškai būdų, kaip pateisinti to, ko tu tiki ir tada ir vat kai tokį parašė, kodėl tu taip tiki, nes tai parašyta, self-referential, kaip Biblija. Tai parašyta, todėl aš tikiu. O kodėl tikiu, nes tai parašyta. Bet kodėl tikiu, nes tai parašyta. Ir you're done. Save referencinį, kad pateisint savo ideologiją. Ir ką aš sakiau pradžioj, čia nėra tai, kad tyrimas, duomenys ir tada susidariau išvadą. Turiu išvadą ir tada ją atbuliniu būdu racionalizuoju ir tada sukuriu tą sistemą arba randu tą sistemą ir tada circular, self-referential ir gaunas toks. Wherein Wilber tends to describe his work as being at the forefront of science. Wizard has compiled a bibliography of online criticism of Wilber's integral theory. Čia yra netgi critics visas. And produce an overview of their objection. Another Wilber critic, the independent scholar Andrew P. Smith, observes that most of Wilber's work has not been published by university presses, a fact that discourages some academics from taking his ideas. Jis net nėra publishinės to. Jis actually net nėra publishinės. Wilber's failure to respond to critics of integral theory is also said to contribute to field's chilly reception in some quarters. Forman and S. Bjorn Hargens have countered criticisms regarding the academic standing of integral studies, in part claiming that the divide between integral theory and academia is exaggerated by critics who themselves lack academic credentials of standing. They also said that participants at the first integral theory conference 8 metais had largely mainstream academic credentials, pointing to existing programs in alternative universities like John F. Kennedy University. Okay. Man reikia jau baigti streamą. Ne, jau baigiu streamą, man šiandien jo. Jo, sakau, nuo pat pradžių visi red flagai, it's a load of horseshit. Yeah. Ok. Sorry, kad apupinau jūsų paradą, aš nepamenu, kas ten dalinos, tai ar klausiau ir sakėt, bet čia jie... Koks vakaras ilgas, kaip širdim man gelia. Nuskink man jazminą.